Picture this. You're walking down a completely quiet street, but out of nowhere, this intense smell of sulfur just hits you. You look down, and the actual asphalt beneath your feet feels unnervingly warm. And then you see it, wisps of white smoke literally rising right out of deep, jagged cracks in the road. Now, this isn't some crazy scene from a disaster movie. This is a real place. Because deep underground, a monstrous inferno has been raging nonstop for decades, quietly turning what used to be a vibrant community into an absolute ghost town. So, what American town has been burning for over 60 years? Just take a second to wrap your head around that. A fire that simply refuses to die. All right, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to unpack this one with you, because today we're exploring Centralia, the town consumed by eternal fire. We're going to deconstruct the staggering historical timeline of Centralia, Pennsylvania, the wild science behind this subterranean blaze, and the heartbreaking impact it had on the people who actually lived there. We're going to see exactly how a modern American community gets locked in a perpetual state of combustion. Section 1. The 60-Year Mystery. To really grasp the tragedy of this decades-long blaze, we've got to look at what this place was before all that smoke started rising, the American town that has been burning for 60-plus years. You see, Centralia wasn't always this barren, smoldering wasteland. Not at all. It was actually a thriving, bustling coal mining borough tucked right into the beautiful hills of Pennsylvania. We're talking about a tight-knit community of well over 1,000 residents. There were busy streets packed with homes, local shops buzzing with everyday life, schools, churches, the whole shebang. It was your quintessential American town, built squarely on the very industry that would, ironically, become its undoing. Entire generations of families lived, worked, and played there, completely unaware of the literal ticking time bomb buried just beneath their foundations. Section 2. Centralia, an American town. So how exactly did this thriving community seal its own fate? Well, it all traces back to one incredibly specific, seemingly harmless event in 1962. The town of Centralia just needed to clean up a local landfill in time for Memorial Day. A totally standard municipal chore, right? But here's the catch. This particular landfill was located in an abandoned strip mine pit. The town council hired some local firefighters to burn the trash, which was actually a pretty common practice back then. However, this pit happened to be dangerously close to an unsealed opening, and that opening connected directly to a massive labyrinth-like network of abandoned underground coal mines. The fire just wasn't fully put out. It smoldered, crept right into that opening, and ignited the massive coal seams below. Just like that, a simple, everyday trash fire sparked an unstoppable catastrophe. Section 3. Consumed by eternal fire. Now, what's really wild about the town consumed by eternal fire is the actual science of what happens when a blaze like this moves underground. It transforms into an entirely different beast. We're dealing with a fire fueled by incredibly rich veins of anthracite coal. In anthracite, it is extremely dense and burns at just staggering, terrifying temperatures. We're talking sometimes well over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Because it's happening all below the surface, the fire acts like this creeping monster, literally baking the earth from the inside out. As the coal burns away, it creates these massive underground voids, which causes the ground above to suddenly collapse into terrifying sinkholes. And to make matters even worse, this underground combustion silently releases lethal waves of carbon monoxide and other toxic gases straight up into the basements and living rooms of the homes above. And when we say consumed, meaning completely engulfed or destroyed, just like the source implies, the physical manifestation of that on a town is downright apocalyptic. It wasn't some massive overnight explosion, you know. It was a slow, excruciating death. Route 61, which was the main highway into town, literally buckled and split wide open, constantly venting toxic steam and smoke. It got so bad the state eventually had to reroute traffic entirely. The actual ground became too hot to even touch. Beautiful family homes had to be condemned one by one, stripped down, and bulldozed into empty dirt lots. The physical space of the town was literally being erased, piece by piece. The people of Centralia were forced into this gradual exodus as their own backyards mutated into toxic, unstable hazards. The town was, quite literally, being swallowed whole by its own environment. Section 4. 6 decades of burning. 60 plus. The fact that this fire has been active for over 60 years is a massive testament to just how insurmountable this problem truly was. Throughout the 60s and 70s, the government tried over and over again to extinguish this inferno. They tried flushing the mines with these heavy water mixtures. They tried digging out the burning material. They even tried suffocation techniques, plugging up holes with non-combustible fly ash. But guess what? Absolutely nothing worked. The fire just kept outflanking them, moving deeper into the earth and spreading further across those coal seams. Finally, by the 1980s, after decades of failed engineering projects and rapidly mounting health hazards, Congress essentially had to accept defeat. They initiated a massive $42 million relocation program, they bought out the residents, and effectively waved a white flag to the inferno below. To really put this into perspective and grasp why this has lasted so incredibly long, let's compare it to a normal fire. A typical structure fire is devastating, absolutely, but it operates on a very short timeline, usually just hours or days. Eventually, a house fire either runs out of combustible fuel or emergency crews smother it and take away the oxygen. But Centralia's condition, burning for 60-plus years, that's because it has a virtually limitless supply of both. The miles and miles of old, interconnected mine shafts basically act like giant underground chimneys, constantly pulling in fresh oxygen from the surface. And the fuel? Well, there is so much high-grade anthracite coal still sitting untouched down in those veins that experts estimate the Centralia fire has enough fuel to just keep right on burning for another 250 years. And that brilliantly illustrates the devastating timeline we can track through some key historical milestones here. In year 1, 1962, the burning officially begins at the town landfill. For nearly 2 decades, it was mostly treated as a localized, albeit growing, nuisance. But by year 30, or roughly 3 decades in, the crisis hit a terrifying turning point. In 1981, a 12-year-old boy named Todd Demoski was just playing in his grandmother's backyard when the earth literally opened up right beneath him. He nearly fell into a fiery, toxic sinkhole. That terrifying incident really blew the lid off the story and brought national media attention to the town's plight. Fast forward to 1992, and the absolute tipping point is reached. The state of Pennsylvania invoked eminent domain, condemning all the remaining buildings and essentially wiping Centralia off the map, ensuring the town could never recover. Which brings us to year 60+, where the town is amazingly still burning. Which leads us to the eerie reality of Centralia today. If a town can burn for 60+ years, what does eternal truly mean for Centralia? Despite the state's condemnation and the demolition of almost every single structure, a tiny handful of residents stubbornly refuse to leave, fighting tooth and nail for the right to live out their days on top of a smoldering ghost town. Today, if you visit the area, you won't find that bustling borough we talked about earlier. Instead, you'll find overgrown grid streets, scattered brick steps that just lead to nowhere, and this profound, truly unsettling silence. And if you look closely into the Pennsylvania woods, you will still see that white smoke quietly rising from the cracked, warm earth. It is a haunting, real-life reminder of an American town that was sacrificed to the flames. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I will see you next time.